The sun dipped behind the tall glass buildings of Seoul, casting gold over the busy campus of Daehan University. Students bustled around the main plaza, chatting, rushing to lectures, grabbing snacks, completely unaware that the most interesting story of the semester had just begun. Chizara adjusted her headphones, nodding to the Afrobeat while balancing her backpack and a basketball under one arm. Her style was loud without saying a word: oversized hoodie, cargo pants, and sneakers that squeaked proudly on polished floors. She stood out, not just because she was Nigerian, beautiful, bold, with coils wrapped in a short puff, but because she owned her space like she was born for it. And she had no idea she was being watched. From the third-floor window of the sports building, Kim Sieun, Daehan's golden boy and basketball captain, rested his chin on his hand, eyes narrowing at the girl weaving through the crowd. She wasn't like the ones who lined up for his attention, hair curled and nails done. This one was different. Like she didn't care who he was. Like the world could burn and she'd just dribble her ball through the ashes. He scoffed to himself. Tomboy or not, she's good. That's the one who dropped 15 points at the scrimmage last week, right? He muttered to his teammate. Yeah. Exchange student from Nigeria. Chizara, something. Sieun didn't realize he was already smiling. A few days later. The bus was packed tighter than a tournament locker room. Chizara held onto the rail above her, earbuds still blasting Afrobeat. Then it happened. A sharp break. A body flung forward. And two arms, strong, steady, wrapped tightly around her waist. She froze. "Are you okay?" came a low voice from behind her, smooth like velvet, confused but steady. Chizara whipped her head around. Kim Sieun. Her eyes narrowed. "Are you crazy? Who told you to touch me like that? Pervert." Sieun's face twisted into shock. "Excuse me? I was helping." "Helping? That's what they all say." It was an accident, for crying out loud, he snapped back, arms now raised in defense. People were watching. Some laughing. Some whispering. That was when it started, the unspoken war between Seoul's basketball king and the Nigerian firestorm. The next day at the university's indoor basketball court, the players were already warming up when Coach Park clapped his hands. "We've got a new player joining the extended team today. From Nigeria. She beat half our first line in the tryouts." Whispers rippled through the group. Then she walked in, oversized black hoodie, sweatpants, Jordans that had clearly seen battles. She removed her hood. It was her. And as her eyes met his, recognition flared like a match. "You," Chizara muttered. He smirked. "You again." Coach Park looked between them. "Son, you'll be mentoring her." Chizara let out a short laugh. "Mentoring? No thanks. I don't need babysitting." Sieun stepped forward, eyes narrowed. "Then try not to trip and fall into my arms this time, will you?" That was the beginning. Of war. Of rivalry. Of love neither of them expected. From the moment Coach Park paired them, it was war. "Sieun, Chizara, you two are leading the tag team scrimmage today. Boys versus girls. Let's see if the two most stubborn players on this court can function together." Chizara rolled her eyes so hard she nearly saw her brain. "I'd rather lose than play with him." Sieun tossed the basketball lazily between his hands. "Likewise. I don't play with amateurs who fall for gravity and blame people." Their teammates gave each other knowing glances, everyone could smell the tension in the air. But it wasn't just rivalry. It was charged. Fierce. Almost electric. The whistle blew. The game was brutal. Chizara darted through defenders like wine through trees, fast, unpredictable, impossible to pin down. Sieun guarded her tightly, too tightly, stealing the ball more than once with a smirk she wanted to slap off his smug face. "You're slow," he whispered as he slid past her with the ball. "You're predictable," she shot back, snatching it mid-dribble and spinning into a perfect layup. Cheers erupted. She high-fived the other girls, flipping her braids back with a cocky grin in his direction. His jaw ticked. From that day forward, it became a tradition. Coach Park would always pair them. "They bring out the beast in each other," he muttered once under his breath. Perfect training. But training with Sieun was anything but perfect. He blocked her shots on purpose. Spilled water on her shoes before practice. Hid her earbuds. Tied her jersey sleeves in knots. But Chizara was worse. She programmed his phone's assistant to only respond in Igbo. She stuffed hot pepper powder in his sneakers. She once climbed the gym rafters just to hang his practice jersey up there. "Need a ladder, Captain," she said sweetly as he stared up, unamused, teammates snickering. One afternoon, during practice, their tension finally exploded. He stole the ball, again. Slam dunked, again. Then jogged past her with a mocking bow. That was it. She didn't care about the rules. She launched herself at him mid-dribble, knocking him to the floor. The ball bounced away. Gasps echoed around the court. He lay flat on his back, blinking up at the ceiling. Then her face appeared above his, fuming. "Next time you play dirty," she growled, "I won't stop at just tackling you." He smirked. "Next time you fall on me, try not to enjoy it." She slapped his chest, not hard, but firm. He caught her wrist, holding it just a second too long. Too close. Too intense. Too confusing. Coach blew the whistle. "Enough. You two, laps. Until I say stop." And so they ran, side by side, hating each other, stealing glances, pushing the limits. Both too daring to back down. Both too stubborn to admit the heat wasn't just from running. Seoul skies turned gray by afternoon, thick clouds swallowing the sun. The weather forecast had promised light showers, but by dusk, it was anything but light. The rain came down in sheets, angry, fast, and sudden. Chizara had just left the campus cafe, a warm cup of tea in hand, hoodie pulled up over her braids. She didn't care about the storm. She liked storms. They reminded her of home, of fierce Lagos evenings with thunder in the sky and fire in her bones. But she didn't expect him. Kim Sieun, basketball captain, school heartthrob, arrogant perfectionist, was standing just outside the library entrance across the path, a book bag over his head, shielding himself from the rain like an idiot. She couldn't help it. She laughed. Loudly. He turned. Spotted her standing by the tree. "You think this is funny?" She shrugged, sipping her tea. "You're tall enough to be struck by lightning." He jogged toward her, splashing through puddles, soaked halfway already. "And you're insane enough to stand in it." "Guess I'm electric," she said coolly. They stood there, breath mingling, the storm wrapping them in sound and static. Their rivalry became infamous. Not just in the basketball department. Across campus. Dorms whispered about them. The girl who called the captain a walking ego with legs and the guy who labeled her a loudmouthed hurricane in sneakers. But no one dared intervene. You'd get scorched just standing too close. They were volatile. When Sieun led drills, Chizara deliberately ran ahead of him, brushing his shoulder just hard enough to knock him off pace. "Catch up, pretty boy," she'd call over her shoulder, breathless but smug. He didn't take it quietly. Next day, he made sure she was assigned extra suicide runs. "Penalty for attitude," he told Coach. Coach smirked. He knew better than to ask. Sometimes she switched his protein powder with baking powder. Once, he filled her water bottle with vinegar. Their pranks were personal, tactical, ruthless. One late afternoon, the team gathered for a surprise endurance scrimmage. "Pair up," coach barked. "You'll be tied by the wrist for this one. Move in sync or fall apart." The court went quiet. Everyone knew what was coming. Soon. "Chizara. You're together." Chizara almost choked. "This is torture, coach." "No," coach replied calmly. "This is strategy." They were tied at the wrist and ankle. Literally. The rope cut slightly into their skin as they moved. Clumsy. Offbeat. Infuriating. "Stop pulling like a mule," Chizara shouted as they tripped over each other. "I'm not the one stomping like a baby elephant." Sieun barked back. They fell. Again. She landed on top of him. Again. And again, the moment froze. His chest rose and fell beneath her. Their eyes locked. Too close. Too dangerous. "I'm going to murder you one day," she whispered. He didn't smile. His voice dropped. "Then do it now. I'd rather die than be stuck with you." Her jaw clenched. But she didn't move. The air between them tightened. And yet, when the rope was finally cut at the end of practice, neither of them walked away first. No one dared tease them. No one joined their fights. It was like a war only the two of them could wage. Everyone else just watched, fascinated and horrified, like spectators at a gladiator match. And yet, late at night, in the dorm lounge, when Chizara scrolled through her feed and saw a photo of Sieun in a magazine feature, sweat-drenched, jaw sharp, half smirking, something twisted in her chest. She zoomed in. Scoffed. Stupid fine for no reason. Then locked her phone, said her night prayers and went to bed. She dreamed of the court. Of his voice in her ear. Of being tied to him again. It was the night of the Seoul University Rain Slam tournament. The gym was packed. Thunder cracked outside. Rain lashed the windows like drums of war. The court was slick with sweat and tension. Boys versus girls. Of course, Sieun and Chizara were captains. Of course, coach had declared mixed defense, captains were to guard each other exclusively. They hated it. They lived for it. The game started fast. Chizara spun through defenders like wind blades, her long limbs slicing the air, braids whipping like lashes. She was lightning. She was poetry in Jordans. Sieun was a wall of speed and precision. He met her head-on, block for block, push for push. His jaw clenched. His eyes never left her. Mid-second quarter, it happened. She went for a sharp step-back fadeaway. He anticipated it, leapt. She landed. He didn't. His ankle twisted mid-air. He hit the floor with a thud that silenced the gym. Chizara froze. He groaned, trying to push himself up, pain flashing in his usually unreadable eyes. She rushed to him before she could even think. "Don't touch me," he hissed. She crouched beside him anyway. "Don't flatter yourself." Their teammates circled, but no one dared get too close. "Can you walk?" she snapped, heart hammering. "Are you worried?" he muttered bitterly, half smirking through the pain. "Not in a lifetime," she spat. "I just don't want your sorry but ruining my win." She pulled his arm over her shoulders. He resisted. "I said I don't need help." "Tough," she bit. "I'm not offering it. I'm dragging your pride off the floor." She helped him to the locker room, half carrying him, her heart raging louder than the storm outside. The door shut behind them. Silence. Then, "Why did you help me?" he demanded, sitting on the bench, ankle swelling. "Because you're mine to destroy," she said, voice low, stepping in front of him. Not theirs. No one else gets to break you. His eyes burned into hers. Then suddenly, snap. He stood, ignoring the pain, grabbing her wrist. Then destroy me, he growled. Because I'm already losing my mind. She shoved him. He pulled her closer. Their foreheads touched, breathing jagged. You drive me insane, she whispered. Good, he whispered back. Because you've haunted every game, every night, every breath. Then it happened. The rain still thundered against the roof of the locker room like drums of fate. Sieun sat on the bench, ankle throbbing. Chizara knelt in front of him, silently wrapping the bandage tight, precise, her fingers rough but skilled. Her face was blank, unreadable, but her hands trembled slightly. He noticed. He hated that he noticed. But worse, he hated how much it made his chest ache. As she tied the last knot on the bandage, her face hovered close to his. The storm outside had softened to a distant roar, but inside that small room, everything felt dangerously quiet. He leaned in. He didn't even think. Her breath brushed his. Then, shove. Hard. He didn't expect it. He staggered backward and slammed into the lockers, the metal echoing with a deafening clang. What was that, Chizara? He barked, stunned. She was already standing. Already burning. Her fists clenched at her sides. Her eyes sharp and full of something far more dangerous than anger, betrayal. Who do you think I am? She spat, chest rising and falling. You think just because I helped carry you here, just because I bandaged your ankle, I'll go soft? That I'll melt into your arms like one of your campus groupies? His mouth opened, but no words came. She stepped forward, fury crackling like lightning. You think I'm one of those girls who blushes when you wink at them? That you can lean in and I'll forget everything, how you've made me run laps until my legs went numb, how you put weights in my bag for balance training, how you humiliated me in front of the team. She laughed bitterly, too loud, too wounded. I hate you, Kim Sieun. Even more now. She stormed past him, her shoulder hitting his as she went for the door. Sieun didn't stop her. Couldn't. He stood there, fists shaking, back still pressed to the locker. He cursed under his breath. Damn it. He had lost control. That wasn't planned. That moment wasn't supposed to happen. They were supposed to stay enemies, clear lines, clean roles. But now? Now it was messy. He punched the locker beside him, the sound loud and sharp. The next day on the court, it was like an invisible wall stood between them. Their movements were stiff. Eyes cold. Teammates whispered behind their hands. Sieun didn't look at her once. Chizara didn't speak a word. But when they played, they were sharper. Deadlier. Fiercer than ever. Each pass from her cut the air like a blade. Each block from him hit harder than necessary. It wasn't just hate anymore. It was personal. No one knew what happened in the locker room. But everyone could feel it. The war had leveled up. Days passed. The storm in the locker room never blew over. It followed them into the court, the halls, the air around them. Sieun tried to reach out, once. Maybe twice. But Chizara? She didn't budge. She didn't even blink when he passed her in the halls. Didn't flinch when their shoulders brushed in drills. Didn't pause when coach paired them again in another team exercise, grinning like he was enjoying the tension. If anything, she upped the war. Harder passes that smacked his chest. Shoes accidentally stepping on his. A sudden, unnecessary spin that knocked him in the ribs mid-scrimmage. You still mad? He asked, breathless after a heated match. No, she said coolly. I'm entertained. It stung more than any slap could. Sieun had never felt powerless in a game before. Never off balance. But this wasn't basketball. This was her court now. Kim Sieun had fallen before, once or twice, stupid crushes that passed like summer storms. Fast. Fleeting. Nothing deep enough to leave a mark. But this? This was something else entirely. He was falling faster than he'd ever imagined possible. And it wasn't some innocent, harmless fall. No, this felt like plummeting off a cliff with no safety net, no second thoughts, and no chance of stopping. Every time he saw her, something inside him shifted. Twisted. Burned. He had no control over it. It got worse during the weeks that followed. Sometimes, after the female basketball team finished practice, Chizara, still glistening with sweat, still wearing that untouchable confidence-like skin, would hang around. Most girls went to the locker rooms, giggling, checking their phones, fixing their hair. Not her. She'd tie her braids into a low ponytail, crack her neck, and casually step onto the guy's side of the court like it was nothing. Got room for one more, she'd ask. And no one ever said no. Even when they knew they'd probably lose. Sieun would watch from the sidelines sometimes, pretending to scroll through his phone or tie his sneakers again, but really, he couldn't tear his eyes away. She was something else. Moving like thunder, talking trash with that grin that made it impossible to look away, even when she was pissing people off. And those guys, some of the cockiest players on campus, tried. They flirted. Hard. One called her baby girl. She deadpanned, "Is your brain made of rubber? Because it bounces straight to nonsense." Another tried, "You ever consider dating a real baller?" She shot a clean three-pointer right past him and said, "I don't date benchwarmers." They laughed. Embarrassed. Sieun didn't. Because he saw something in her that they didn't. She wasn't just uninterested, she was unreachable. Not because she played hard to get, but because she was hard to get. There was no act. No giggles. No fake modesty. She didn't try to be liked. And maybe that's what made her impossible to ignore. To him, Chizara wasn't just beautiful. She was dangerous, in the way fire dances just out of reach, making you want to touch it even though you know you'll burn. That night, as he walked back to his dorm, sweaty shirt slung over his shoulder and the echo of bouncing balls still playing in his head, Sieun stopped under a lamppost. His heart was doing that thing again. Beating too fast. And all because of a girl who could break his ankles on court and his pride in the hallway, and still leave him wanting more. He leaned against the cold pole and muttered to himself, "Kim Sieun, you're so screwed." Still, that day after practice, when the gym lights dimmed and most had gone, he found her sitting alone on the bench, untying her shoes. He approached, slowly. "I'm not trying to fight anymore," he said, voice quiet. She looked up. Her expression unreadable. "I don't want to win against you anymore," he added. "I just want peace." She snorted. "You getting tired already?" He sat beside her, sighing. Maybe I just realize I already lost." She glanced sideways, brow raised. "I lost to you a long time ago, Chizara," he said, eyes locking with hers. "Before I even knew it." She froze. Something in his voice was too raw to ignore. Too honest. "I hated you for how you made me feel. The way you walked onto my court like you owned it. Like nothing could break you. Like you were the storm, not just standing in it." He gave a breathless laugh. "And that day on the bus, when you fell into me, I was doomed. You cursed me out like I was trash and I couldn't stop thinking about it. You've been haunting me ever since." Chizara's lips parted. Her hands were still. "Do you want me to stop fighting you?" she asked finally. He nodded once. "I want you to see me as something else. Not your enemy." For a long, thick moment, Chizara just stared at him. Then, she laughed. But not mockingly. It was low, almost sad. "Soon," she whispered. I didn't think you'd fall. He blinked. She stood, slinging her bag over her shoulder. I only know how to fight, she murmured. It's the only thing that ever made me feel alive. Especially around you. She looked down at him. So if you've lost already, I guess I won't enjoy this war anymore. And with that, she walked off, leaving Sun stunned, heart thudding, her voice echoing like a drum in his chest. It continued. Kim Sieun, he didn't mean to stare. He never meant to notice how she hummed softly when tying her shoes, or how she always had a tiny strip of bandage looped around her fingers from too much practice. He didn't mean to memorize the way she tilted her head when laughing, or how the corners of her lips twitched when she was holding back a grin. But he noticed. He noticed everything. He sat behind her during film reviews, not because he had to, but because he wanted to see the little gestures she made while watching the screen, the way she squinted when confused, leaned forward during tense plays, or tossed popcorn at the boys when they got too loud. She never looked back at him. Not once. Still, he watched. She didn't feel what he felt. That much was clear. To her, he was, what? A teammate? A reformed enemy? Someone tolerable? He told himself that was enough. But it wasn't. One evening, after a brutal practice, the team collapsed around the benches, panting and reaching for bottles. Sieun grabbed his water, barely took 2 sips before. Forgive me, Chizara said casually, snatching it from his hand and drinking deep. So deep, she nearly finished the entire thing. Sieun sat there stunned, mouth slightly open. That was mine. She wiped her mouth with the back of her hand. Should have held it tighter. He blinked, trying to look annoyed. You want my soul while you're at it? She grinned. Already took your pride. Your soul's next. His heart did a full somersault, but he only scoffed and turned away, hiding the ridiculous smile that pulled at his face. Moments like that kept happening. During lunch breaks, she started sitting beside him without asking. During late practices, she threw him towels and called him Captain SSI, with a mischievous smirk. She even bumped her head against his shoulder one evening and murmured, "You're too tall. Stand shorter." Each time she did something small, something careless. It wrecked him. One night, as they walked out of the gym under the city lights, she stumbled slightly, her shoe untied. Without thinking, Sieun reached out, steadying her with a hand on her waist. It was just a reflex. Just instinct. But her eyes lifted to his hand. And for a moment, a flicker. Something passed across her face. A spark. A jolt. But just as quickly, it was gone. She stepped back and laughed it off. Geez, relax, she said. You think you're in a drama or something? He gave a short laugh too, but it didn't reach his eyes. She didn't see it. She didn't feel it. And maybe she never would. But he'd keep walking beside her anyway. Because for now, being near her, even as just a friend, was still better than being away. It was a rare Saturday. No balls bouncing, no sneakers squeaking on court. Just sunlight, light jackets, and a Seoul street buzzing softly with weekend life. Let's eat, Chizara had said out of nowhere after practice the day before. Not asked. Said, like it wasn't a big deal. Like it didn't leave Sieun lying awake most of the night wondering if she meant it as a friendly peace offering, or something else. Now, here they were. The little restaurant tucked in an alley smelled of peppered chicken and grilled pork. Its checkered tablecloths and mismatched chairs gave it charm, the kind that didn't try too hard. They sat across from each other, Sieun still slightly stunned this was even happening. Then the waiter came. Ah, 2 of you, he smiled brightly. We have couple set, comes with 2 mains, drinks, and a dessert to share. Cheaper than ordering separately. Sieun nearly choked on air. We're not. Before he could finish, Chizara casually reached across the table and covered his mouth with her hand. We'll take it, she said, her lips curling into a wickedly sweet grin. Sun blinked at her, wide-eyed, her palm still pressed lightly to his mouth. Right, babe, she added, turning to the waiter with a wink. He blushed, nodded quickly, and disappeared into the kitchen. Chizara finally pulled her hand back and grabbed her water glass. What was that? Sun asked, stunned. Relax, she sipped calmly. It was cheaper. Plus. She leaned back in her seat, smirking, you owe me after drinking my water and eating the last dumpling last week. I didn't know that dumpling was sacred, he muttered. It was. They bickered through half the meal, who got the bigger portion of meat, who was worse at free throws. At one point, she stole a fry from his plate and he flicked a spoonful of rice at her. She ducked and laughed, a sound so bright, so soft, it made him forget for a second that they were ever enemies at all. Then came dessert, a chocolate lava cake. 1 plate. 2 spoons. Chizara picked up hers first and took a bite, then froze. This is unfairly good, she mumbled, mouth full. Give it. No way. I ordered it. You mean we, he reached forward, but she leaned her whole body over the plate, guarding it with her life. Sun sighed and leaned back, watching her fight with gooey chocolate like it was her birthright. And he couldn't help it, he smiled. Softly. Unconsciously. It was so her. Wild, bold, maddening. But warm, too, maybe warmer than she knew. He didn't say anything, didn't ruin it. But inside, he was quietly falling. And somewhere, deep inside, Chizara felt the air shift. The way his eyes lingered. The way her laughter came more easily now. She shoved it down. It was just fun. Just 2 reformed enemies sharing dessert. That's all. Right? Somehow it happened. Soon started avoiding her. Not with malice, not with anger. But with a silence so loud, it echoed every time they stood in the same room. He couldn't sit beside her anymore. He couldn't meet her eyes. He couldn't even laugh when she teased him like she used to. And Chizara noticed. It gnawed at her. She didn't like it. Hated it. One evening, the team was getting ready for practice. The others joked, tied shoelaces, and warmed up. Chizara, like she'd always done, came up behind Sun and looped her arms around his neck casually, dropping her chin on his shoulder. But this time, he froze. He slowly reached up, and gently pulled her arms away. You're not a boy, Chizara, he said softly but firmly. Don't act like one. Silence fell around them like a winter storm. The words sliced her. Not because they insulted her. But because they came from him, the one person who had always embraced her wild, tomboyish self. Her chest tightened. She stepped in front of him, staring hard into his eyes. You never had a problem with it before. He avoided her gaze. I always did that, she said, voice trembling. You never pushed me away. You even smiled sometimes. So why now? His jaw clenched. He turned his head, but she caught his face in her palm and forced him to look at her. Say it, she whispered, fire glinting in her eyes. If something's changed, say it. He couldn't take it anymore. I like you, Chizara. Her breath hitched. I've been in love with you for months. From the moment you insulted me on that bus, when I caught you like a damn fool. To the way you bossed me around the court like you owned the world. He still looked at her, eyes intense, hands trembling slightly as if he were holding back years of thunder, and said, in a voice low and steady. I tried to hate you. God knows I tried. But I couldn't. You were chaos and comfort all at once. Every time you challenged me, I fell a little more. Every glare, every sarcastic jab, those moments were the highlights of my day. Chizara blinked, stunned, her breath catching. He continued, taking a step closer. You have no idea what you've done to me. I used to walk the campus thinking I had it all, attention, reputation, control. But then you came with your fire, your oversized jerseys, your don't care attitude, and ruined all my plans. And the worst part? I wanted you to ruin them. She swallowed hard, heart thundering, lips parting to speak, but he gently lifted a hand, as if asking for one more second of courage. I don't want a life where you're just part of my day, I want one where you're the reason for it. He stepped back slightly, heart in his throat. I can't bottle it up anymore, Chizara. She turned. Started walking away. Not quickly, slowly. Like her heart was too heavy to move fast. And then? Please, his voice cracked. Don't shut me out. She stopped. I'd rather you stayed and hated me than leave and take this silence with you, he said. You're not just someone I like. You're my gravity. She turned slowly, her eyes glossy, lips parted like she wanted to speak but didn't trust her voice. I didn't say it so you'd say it back, he added, softly. I said it because it's always been true. He stepped toward her again, gently reached for her wrist. Don't walk away from me like I never mattered. Not when you're the only person who ever did. Chizara stood there, staring at him, her fingers trembling at her sides. She blinked, once. Then again. You. She began, her voice a whisper. You love me? Sieun's gaze didn't waver. She took a small, almost unsteady step back. You could have any girl in this university, Kim Sieun. Her voice rose, stunned. There are girls who follow you like shadows. Girls who wear makeup just to pass you in the hallway. Girls who would fight for you. He chuckled softly, without mockery. Just a warm, heart-wrenching sound that made her chest ache. Yeah, he said. And none of them are you. Chizara's breath caught. You think I want someone who waits behind walls and flutters eyelashes? I want the girl who calls me a glorified ballerina when I flex during practice. I want the girl who stole half my water and never once said thank you. I want the one who makes me feel alive, and infuriated, and addicted. She blinked again, looking away, but he stepped forward. You want to know why I was scared? His voice lowered, tender and aching. Because being your best friend isn't enough for me. Not when someone else could walk in, smile at you, and get you, because I never said anything. He paused, swallowing the emotion building in his throat. I didn't want to be the guy who watched someone else love you because I was too much of a coward to tell you first. Her eyes welled. And you, he continued, gently brushing a lock of hair from her cheek, you wear that fire like armor. You never let anyone close. But I kept trying, not because I wanted to tame you, never that, but because I wanted to be the one person you didn't have to fight with. Chizara looked at him, really looked. Her heartbeat was roaring like it had taken over her whole body. She felt hot. Cold. Light. Heavy. Like her world was tilting. And all this time, she whispered, voice cracking. You never said anything. I was busy falling. That did it. She turned her face away quickly, hiding the blush on her cheeks. He smiled, walking closer until they were inches apart. So, if I'm wrong, if you don't feel anything at all, tell me. I'll back off. No games. No pressure. She was quiet for a long moment. And then, she whispered, I don't know what I feel. Not yet. But, when you pulled my arms away, it hurt more than I thought it would. His heart pounded. And now? He asked, voice lower now. She hesitated, then stepped closer. Now I just feel like, if you don't hug me back, I might punch you. He grinned, chuckled under his breath, and slowly, carefully, wrapped his arms around her, holding her like she was both fire and feather. Neither of them said a word. But both of them knew. Everything had changed. Ever since that night, when words unspoken finally broke free, Chizara and Sieun were different. Not loud about it. Not overly sweet. But unmistakably them. They bickered, teased, and still challenged each other like rivals on a court, but now there were soft smiles between the taunts, playful glances between the sass. They laughed more. Touched more. And in their strange, fiery way, they were inseparable. Chizara still stole Sun's water bottle, except now he handed it over with a smirk and a "you're lucky I like you." She still wore oversized jerseys and headbands, but now she often wore his. And sometimes, when no one was watching, she'd loop her pinky with his during practice, a silent secret that made Sun's heart pound like sneakers on polished wood. Their friends were baffled, amused, and a little envious. "She's got him wrapped," one of the team members joked. "Nah, he's got her soft now," another teased. But no one could deny, they worked. Fierce and soft. Heat and gravity. And then came the university spring gala. It was the first time in 4 years Chizara had agreed to attend. Everyone expected her to show up in sneakers, maybe a varsity jacket over something simple. But when she walked in that evening, time froze. The silk gown hugged her form like it had been tailored by destiny. A deep emerald green that contrasted her skin beautifully, with a slit that revealed a confident, deadly grace in every step. Her locks were swept up, neck exposed, shoulders glowing. She looked like a storm dressed as a goddess. Gasps. Stares. Whispers. "Is that Chizara? No way. She's beautiful." Sun stood at the base of the steps, dressed sharply in black on black with a silver pin glinting on his blazer. He turned just in time to see her coming down. His jaw actually dropped. But what stunned him most wasn't the dress or the way her eyes caught the light. It was the way she smiled directly at him. And without hesitation, looped her arm through his like it was the most natural thing in the world. Sun blinked. "Pick your jaw off the floor, Captain," she whispered teasingly. He chuckled, shaking his head slightly. "You're trying to kill me tonight." She smirked. "Only a little." They walked together like royalty, untouchable and electric. And yet, in the middle of the crowd, they only saw each other. Later that night, while the music played and students danced, Chizara leaned against the balcony railing, sipping juice from a fancy glass, when Sun came up behind her and rested his chin on her shoulder. "You know what my biggest fear was?" he said softly. That you'd look this beautiful one day, and I wouldn't be the one standing next to you." She turned her head, caught off guard. "Soon." He reached for her hand, lacing their fingers together. "You're still the same wild, reckless girl who called me a pervert on the bus. You're still the basketball beast who bruised my ribs. But tonight? You walked in like a queen. And somehow, you're both. And you're mine." Chizara's breath hitched. Her heart thumped hard against her ribs. She stared at him for a long second, before playfully nudging his side. "No way, Sun, when did you get so good at this?" He grinned, leaning closer. "When I realized you weren't just the girl I argued with, you were the girl I wanted to win for." They stood there, swaying to the distant music, his arms around her, her head resting against him. In that moment, nothing else mattered. And the world around them watched in awe. If you like this story, don't hold back. Do subscribe our channel and enjoy more from us.